This video will explain the process for affidavit ballots and court orders. Inspectors will understand why a voter might need an affidavit ballot or court order and what they can do to assist the voter in filling it out correctly with the necessary information. Please make sure to watch all the videos to stay up to date on the most current policies and procedures. There are a few reasons why a voter would have to vote by affidavit or court order. Some of these reasons include the voter was not found in the poll pad, the voter has recently moved within Nassau County and the address in the poll pad is different, if the poll pad says ID required and the voter cannot present the proper identification requested. Please keep in mind that we do not ask for ID in New York State, only if the poll pad requires it. Next, if the voter is registered actively elsewhere in New York State and has moved into Nassau County. And as of June 2022, election law changed so that if a voter comes up in the poll pad and you see that they have received an absentee ballot, they will no longer be able to vote on the machine, but will be able to vote by affidavit. The first thing you want to do once you've established that the voter will need to vote by affidavit or court order is check that the voter is in the correct polling location. Look at the TADED associated with the voter's current address to make sure they are at the proper location. This only matters on Election Day, since voters can vote at any site in Nassau County during early voting. If the voter does not vote in the proper location, their affidavit won't count. Remember to use the precinct finder on your poll pad to give them the right location or text them directions. If the voter refuses to go, you allow them to vote affidavit and let the Board of Elections determine the outcome. For early voting, make sure the site manager prints the ballot for the TADED where they currently reside. Next, you'll explain to the voter that they will not be able to vote on the machine, but they can vote by affidavit or go seek a court order with the judge. Give the voter the notice that explains these two options. You can find the notice in the blue supply bag. A court order is when a voter goes before a judge, pleads their case as to why they feel they should be granted the right to vote on the machine. The judge will decide on whether or not the voter meets the criteria to vote. If yes, the voter will receive a document stating their right to vote on the machine. The voter will show it to the inspector when they return to the polling place. Make sure, as the inspector, to read the court order entirely and check that it is signed by a judge. The voter must sign the court order in front of the inspectors, even if they already signed it. They sign it again. When that is complete, go into the poll pad and search for the voter. Once the voter's name is back on the poll pad, use the soft end of the stylus to tap Vote by Court Order. Read what the screen says and check the court order a final time. After verifying the document, tap Court Order Received and proceed with processing the voter as usual. Affidavit ballots are returned inside an affidavit ballot oath envelope and researched at the Board of Elections. Voting by affidavit requires the voter to complete all the information on the affidavit envelope. It must be filled out correctly by the voter and checked by bipartisan inspectors. The signatures on the envelope serve as an oath, swearing all the information that has been provided is correct. Take the ballot for the affidavit voter and place an X in the box labeled affidavit. Then you will fold the ballot in fours, as seen in the picture on the piece of paper. We do this so that the ballot cannot be placed in the DS-200 without an error. If it's during early voting, make sure you have the site manager come over to look up the TADED of the voter's correct address in the poll pad so they can manually print the appropriate ballot. Next, you will give the voter the affidavit envelope and their ballot and direct them to the privacy booth. Instruct them that they will fill out all the information on the envelope and then place the ballot inside and seal it. When the voter returns to the table, it is the inspector's job to check that the information is filled out properly. If this is during early voting, site managers may want to do so. Though we want all the information filled in, an affidavit must have the following information. It must have a full name, a full address that is not a P.O. box or a business address, a full date of birth including the year, citizenship status, and a signature. Lastly, if it is a primary, they must put their party. We want to make sure that if it's a Democratic primary, it is a Democrat voting in that election or a Republican voting in a Republican primary. The inspectors must bipartisanly fill out 3 areas on the affidavit envelope after checking to make sure the voter filled out their part properly. The first is the Town Assembly District election district number, which can be found on the ballot. Then both the Republican inspector and the Democratic inspector must initial in the proper boxes. And lastly, if it's a primary, write the party of the ballot that was given. So if it's a Democratic primary, it should be a Democratic ballot. And if it's a Republican primary, it should be a Republican ballot, as well as the third parties if by chance there was a primary election. Once the inspectors have finished checking over everything and making sure the information is filled out correctly, have the voter place their sealed envelope in the orange affidavit ballot bag. Remember to account for the affidavit ballot on the back of the return of canvas so that you keep track for the total at the end of the night. Here are a few things to note. If the voter is voting affidavit because they are coming from another place in the state, it helps to make sure the section stating voting information that has changed is filled in because it will be easier for the Board of Elections to find them in the system. It's not required, but it is helpful. Keep an eye out that if a voter writes a birth date that is under 18, it will be accepted if they will be 18 on election day. Inspectors, chairpersons, or site managers are not responsible to let the voter know whether or not their affidavit will count at the Board of Elections. Your job is simply to let the voter know it will be researched back at the Board of Elections bipartisanly, and if there is any reason for it not to be valid, the voter will receive a letter informing them of the reason. Even if for some reason the affidavit cannot be accepted once researched, it will be used as a registration update and the voter will get a letter explaining all of this to them. Thank you for watching this video. Please see the other videos to help you understand policy and procedure for early voting and election day and refresh your memory on the process of running the poll location smoothly. If you have any questions about training, policy, or procedure, please contact us at dboetraining@nassaucountynY.gov or call us at the Board of Elections. Thank you.